Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Chloe Rashani, and I'm the Associate Business Manager here at Fluxx. Thank you for joining me today in our review of Fluxx's Grantee portal. We'll review the 2016 Grantee portal survey results today, discuss the big takeaways and best practices, and give you a sneak peek into the future of the grantees experience. If you should have any questions at any time during this webinar, please find the Q&A right in your Zoom conference, and we'll go ahead and collect all of those questions and save them till the end. We do have a lot to cover today, so if we don't get the chance to get to all of your questions, we'll be sure to curate the answers and follow up with you offline. So let's go ahead and get started today. In this Grantee portal webinar, we'll be answering the following questions. What are the results of the 2016 Grantee portal survey? What were the takeaways from the survey? What were the best practices when configuring the Grantee portal? What are the best practices when instructing grantees on how to use the Grantee portal? And what is the future of the grantee experience? Again, Q&A will be saved till the end. So we heard a lot of interest from the community that folks wanted to better understand their grantees' user experience, and we were really interested in finding out as well. Because of this, we invited the community to share our Grantee portal user experience survey with all of their grantee organizations. The survey was available via the community site as well as via email. A big thank you to all of you who shared the survey with your grantees. The results were overwhelming. The Grantee portal survey covered the use of the portal, clarity and organization of the interface, and other functions important to user satisfaction. It was open for 2 weeks from January 21st to February 5th, and we had 152 responses. The responses have been reviewed by all of our teams here at Fluxx, including product, client success, and our engineers, and have been incredibly helpful in validating our own assumptions, as well as bringing to surface some of the concerns that we want to work towards improving to make the end user's experience that much more efficient, effective, and headache-free. So at a high level, what we saw is that the majority of grantee users have gained experience in the Grantee portal in the last year or so, and their usage tends to be cyclical when grant cycles are open and applications or reports are due. Overall, their satisfaction levels were high, with over 65% being very satisfied or satisfied with their experience in the Grantee portal, and about 20% being neutral. Now, though we strive for excellence here at Fluxx, as one respondent noted, the fact that the portal does come off as neutral is a good thing. I usually only remember the frustrating or poorly put together online grant portals. So now we'll want to go ahead and jump into some of the specific functionality that we asked within the Grantee portal survey. The responses were all pretty positive. Now, 85% were satisfied with their access to the grant application forms within the portal. 84% were satisfied with submitting the grant application form. 82% were satisfied with uploading any documentation that was required. The areas that certainly have room for improvement, though, include completing reports with 68% satisfaction and checking the status of payments with 56% satisfaction. We believe these lower levels are due partially to documentation and partially to design. At the latter portion of our presentation, we'll discuss how we can tackle the ease of navigation so that grantees can easily and timely complete reports and check the status of their payments. The last group of results we see are the two in which the community and our team here at Fluxx need to work together to improve: communication between funder staff and grantees, and the documentation provided to help grantees familiarize themselves with your customized portal. We will dive into how to resolve these frustrations as we discuss best practices in configuration and documentation. The grantees were also asked to describe the portal in 3 words, and this text analysis shows us those words most often used, distinguished by size. As you can see, the largest and most commonly used words include easy, convenient, user-friendly, organized, simple, and efficient. We don't want to ignore the constructive criticism, though. Some stated that it was confusing, frustrating, or difficult. And we'd like to do what we can with all of you to eliminate that confusion and difficulty and improve the ease of use for all users involved. So we're going to go ahead and review today some of the best practices both in the configuration of your portal as well as the documentation that can be provided to support your grantees. We actually asked the grantees what type of guidance, training, or information would have helped them become more familiar with the grantee portal more quickly. And they included the following: basic use instructions and an introductory email, a one-pager how-to guide, a live demo through the system, a recorded training video, continued education if anything is changed or updated, an FAQ sheet, or instructions related to conditional logic. All of those suggestions can actually be handled through configuration of your portal. It would be best to advise your grantees right in the new user email that all instructions will be available to them within the grantee portal. Then a user guide, training video, or FAQ can be accessed directly within the portal, which we'll talk about in just a second. Now, as for the use of conditional logic, some grantees noted that they like to copy-paste their responses in from a Word document and aren't aware of the additional questions until a selection is made. We advise that you add a note at the top of a set of questions that are dropped down through conditional logic, where it notes that, for instance, if you answer this question, additional questions will appear, so that they are aware when they export it out into Word or copy-paste into Word that there are additional questions that may show up upon completion of the application. Now, among your forms live the generic templates. The generic template acts as a place to essentially host your own site right in the Fluxx grantee portal. There are plenty of creative ways to leverage the generic templates and what the generic templates have to offer in order to provide comprehensive directions and information to your grantees. You can utilize generic templates to make any text instructions or information readily accessible. With a generic template, you can avoid cluttering your own grant request or any other forms, and you keep all instructions easily retrievable. Again, you aren't limited to just one page, and you may have set up a few templates. We highly recommend that you include grantee portal instructions, application instructions, an FAQ, and a contact information page. Now, there are some of you who are already doing an excellent job at utilizing the generic templates. One of those examples is Minnesota Historical Society, who you'll notice has not only their general instructions, but also a navigation guide and unique application instructions per program area available. I highly recommend that those of you who have created and are utilizing user guides, grantee portal trainings, or FAQs share those templates within the community in the Fluxx Fundamentals thread. If you haven't joined the community yet, you can do so by going to community.fluxx.io, where there you can share tips, information, and solutions with fellow Fluxx users from across the globe. Now, there may be some of you who want to keep your instructions within the portal streamlined to one page, and that's certainly fine as well. If you choose to do that, though, we recommend that you use the additional forms component in the generic template. Additional forms will allow you to provide your instructions, FAQ, guides, etc. as a retrievable and exportable document that lives on the Fluxx server. Your grantees can then save or print those instructions and keep them handy. The additional forms component is configured by adding the component to your form, and then attaching the appropriate documents under the stencil documents list. The generic template isn't limited to text either. You can add images or even embed videos into the form. This gives you the flexibility to create an instruction training video that is specific to your portal and its unique configuration. You can then share that video with your grantees right within the generic template, so that they don't have to navigate back and forth to figure out how to best use the necessary functionalities within your portal. You can do so by creating and uploading a video to a video hosting site like Vimeo or YouTube, copying in the embed code into the raw form of a text field on your form, and then selecting the option to allow JavaScript. Now, next, I wanted to also encourage you all to include easily accessible and highly visible contact information, which includes the name and email address of the best point of contact within your organization if grantees are having any issues within their grantee portal. Contact information should be included either on its own page or on all pages where it is highly visible. We do encourage that all questions be routed to our clients first, because sometimes the issue is a matter of configuration or your unique process, rather than a technical issue, given that Fluxx is so customizable to your specific workflow and system needs. If it is a technical issue, we would love our clients to submit a ticket where everyone involved here internally at Fluxx or within your own organization is aware of the issue. Our support team can then work on resolving it in a timely manner. Now, as I've mentioned a few times, and as you all are very well aware, Fluxx is meant to be highly configurable, flexible, and scalable to fit your organization's particular processes. We asked the grantees to relay other points of frustration, and a few came up that were specific to configuration, including automated timeout periods, the inability to export the application, character limits, email alerts, and the impersonal nature of the portal use. Now, all of you may be utilizing one or more of the features available within your portal or have the need to, but the points raised are valid ones for which we have solutions. All clients can configure their Fluxx site to have a session timeout set for both internal and external users on the site. The toggle can actually be configured for a specific duration in minutes, where a user will be logged out of the system after the designated duration of inactivity. Automated timeout periods are actually great to use, but some grantees did express their concern about being booted out of the system without being aware of this timeout period. Now, to avoid this from occurring, what you should do is be as upfront as you can about that timeout period. We actually saw a few good examples of notices in some of your grantee portals. A highlighted note in the generic template to remind the grantees that they will be booted off in 30, 60, or whatever minutes in the form would be wonderful. You'll see here, this is a perfect example of red bold text that is used to say, please note that there is a 30-minute timeout for inactivity on this portal. It would also be great to maybe note that the form does not autosave. You see the bold and red text is definitely great to use, but please keep in mind that it should be kept to a few words rather than sentences long, or the message might not get across. We also heard from a few grantees that they enjoy the flexibility and security of working on applications offline and want to be able to export the application to Word. Now, there are a few of you who already have downloadable Word documents available to the grantees, again, using the additional forms component. It is completely up to you if you want to utilize that component. However, we do, again, encourage grantees to work online right within the application. And we want to support that and give them the assurance that their work won't be lost if they are working online. So in just a bit, I'll show you what we're going to do on our end to enhance the grantee portal so that grantees do have the confidence and empowerment they need to do their work in the cloud. Now, the next comment we received a few times was regarding character limits. With text areas, you can actually set character limits, and some of you do set those limits. It would be a great idea to add a note in maybe your FAQ or application instructions that by default, the character and word limit for every text area is 65,000 total characters if another limit isn't designated. The system will go ahead and show them how many characters are left. But it's also helpful to note within that FAQ or application instructions that it's 5 or 6 characters per word. There seems to be some confusion between character limits and word limits, so it's great to kind of resolve that through an FAQ response. Next, comments were raised around email alerts that are only being sent to certain individuals and not others within a nonprofit or your grantee's organization. In your FAQ or grantee portal instructions, I would definitely include a mention that email reminders are only sent to email addresses associated with the login information. The alert pulls the name of the grantee, which is the primary contact role, a secondary, maybe signatory role, and up to 3 other related roles that have been configured and designated on the request and grant card, with the email addresses pulled from the people card. If a grantee does need to add any other contacts that they didn't originally submit, and who they need to be alerted within the system, they should contact you directly so that you can then vet that contact and approve them within your system. Now, the last point will provide a good introduction into what is in store for the Grantee portal. A few grantees mentioned that the use of the Grantee portal feels a bit impersonal. That's a comment that we'll tend to hear with any sort of online portal use. And there are already ways, though, that we can solve for that to create a friendlier and more personal ecosystem that increases collaboration, transparency, and the ease of follow-up. In Fluxx, sticky notes, or field-by-field notes, allow you and your grantees to communicate on a field-by-field basis. When you turn on sticky notes, it creates a yellow sticky note next to a field that then opens up a comment box and will be visible to the grantee on the form in their own portal. Grantees can actually then reply to that note and communicate with you directly through these field-by-field notes. I do want to note, though, that sticky notes are not private or internal only and will be visible to the grantee if turned on. You can turn on field-by-field sticky notes in your admin panel by going to Plugins, Add-ons, and then selecting Signals. You'll notice in the attributes, you should then turn on and check off the Use Signals for field-by-field notes. We are currently working on revamping Signals, though, which we are aiming to make available in our 140 release. The new and exciting improvements and enhancements will allow for even more in-depth and personal conversations, both internally and with external users like your grantees. The enhancements will include the ability to have user mentions, much like in social media, with an @ sign and a name to prompt the correct internal or external user to review the note. You will also be able to filter the notes so that you can see only the conversations you're involved in or those you have been mentioned in. And lastly, with real-time updates available on the notes, there will be visual cues as red dots for yourself and the grantees when notes haven't been read yet. They will know when a response is requested and will be able to communicate with you directly through those notes, including following the notes and conversations or even uploading content to those notes. Other than the best practices we discussed in relation to configuration and documentation, design enhancements will also get us closer to creating that more meaningful, worthwhile, and productive experience for each and every grantee. As you may have seen during the State of Fluxx, we are really excited to unveil a fresh new look for our external dashboards, including the grantee portal. We'll be bringing over the same clean look and feel from the iOS redesign for better consistency. This will simplify the user experience for your grantee users and make it even harder for grantees to click away and lose their work. You'll notice that the grantee portal actually looks like your own. Your logo will be front and center so that your grantees know exactly who they're working with. Our goals with this new skin are to provide a more simple and easy user experience for the grantees, make pages load faster, improve navigation throughout the portal, and help your grantees make less mistakes as they do navigate. We've made it difficult for grantees to accidentally click away from a form they're working on before saving. You'll notice that the left panel has been dimmed. So while they're working on a form, the left panel is dimmed so that no other options on the form are clickable except cancel, spell check, or save. We also have an updated look and feel for the record detail view with the ability to see a list of records and record detail view together. All of the pop-up modals have also been enhanced to share that same sleek look and feel and keep every component consistent with the new design. One of the recurring themes, though, among grantees was the weariness of losing unsaved work. And we understand here at Fluxx what a painstaking experience that can be. We'll be improving the distinction between the save buttons and the submit buttons or other submit and other workflow transition buttons by separating them and making those submit or transition buttons available in a hovering section distinct and apart from the save option. And one of the very exciting new features that we're looking into include reminder tips to save the document often. which will also prompt them to not only continue to save, but then ask them whether they want to close or continue editing rather than being booted out of the form completely. As you can see, we've taken the results to heart and truly appreciate the feedback provided from all of our end users. We'll continue to keep you up to date on the developments of this new skin and other new enhancements like signals, and we'll be in touch as soon as everything is ready. So this concludes today's webinar on the Grantee portal, and I hope you enjoyed it. I would strongly encourage all of you to continue to use the community site to access a wealth of information, tap into conversations with other Fluxx users, and share the knowledge. Here at Fluxx, everyone from our engineers to our product experts participate in the community to stay informed on where we're at today, what our clients are looking for, what our end users are looking for, and where we would like to be tomorrow. Now, I'd certainly love to open it up to any questions. We just have a few minutes left, and then we can go ahead and follow up with anyone else who we don't get a chance to get to.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Chloe. This is Jen Lau here. I work closely with Chloe on the product and business teams. So we had a couple of great questions come in about the new design of the Grantee portal. One question being, a couple of those about being kind of what's going to be available within the new design around kind of default instruction welcome text. As Chloe had kind of showed, that generic template, when you first log into the portal, you can configure that. So we do generally have some standard, language there, but that can be easily changed, updated, you know, whatever you want to say there, you can say. So in our base template, there are some standard language. You can absolutely configure that, and a lot of people do. In the new design, you will not be able to remove the Fluxx logo entirely. It's just that little bottom, if we can just move to the screenshot of the new design, you can see it's just a powered by Fluxx at the bottom left of the sidebar, but your logo is going to go at the top section there. So where it says here City Foundation, that is going to be you know, whatever organization you are, your logo will go there. We're actually, this is in response to a lot of client interest and grantee interest. We're minimizing kind of the Fluxx logo and really putting yours, as Chloe said, front and center. We're not going to be tweaking any of the design is pretty much where it is. We may do some final refinements in terms of color or whatnot, but for the most part, this is how it's going to be. And the sidebar is not super configurable. As we're looking in more ways to make this look and feel like your own grantee portal, that may be something we consider in the future, you know, changing kind of the sidebar color or something else. But that's currently not available and won't be available in this first iteration of this redesign. And then we had a question about donors kind of correcting grantee submissions. That's a pretty specific use case, and that's probably a bit of a configuration workflow and permissions question. If that's a need that you have, if a donor needs to correct something a grantee submitted, that's all going to be around how your site is configured. So if there's something that you need to adjust there, you can definitely reach out to our support team and they can help advise you on how to make that possible. That's really entirely kind of within your hands and within the admin panel versus the grantee portal design itself. Those were the questions that we've received so far. And as Chloe said, we're really close to the end of our time here. So I'm not sure if there's anything else that someone wants to sneak in. We might have time for one more. Does not look like it so far. So
fantastic. So so today we went over the results of the Grantee portal survey, the takeaways from that survey, the best practices when configuring your Grantee portal, best practices when giving instructions to your grantees on how to use the portal, and then what the future of the grantee experience will be. To learn more and access the video recording of this webinar, please visit our knowledge base at fluxx.io/knowledge. There you'll be able to find a list of our upcoming webinars, links to register for future webinars, and recording of past webinars under the folder Training Webinars. If you do have any further feedback, questions, or concerns about the survey or the Grantee portal, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself at chloe@fluxlabs.com, and I'll be sure to connect you with the right resources. So thank you again for joining us today, and we hope to host you again in our next training, and have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.